On January 3, 2026, the world was jolted awake by news of a U.S. military operation in Venezuela. The story broke in the early hours, sending shockwaves through households and governments alike. As the headlines flashed across screens, confusion and disbelief spread rapidly, with many struggling to grasp the magnitude of what was unfolding. Under the cover of darkness, U.S. airstrikes hit key targets in Caracas, shattering the calm of the city. Moments later, special forces swept through the capital, executing a swift and coordinated operation. Within hours, President Nicolas Maduro and his wife were captured, their fate sealed in a dramatic turn of events that stunned the nation. President Trump quickly claimed responsibility in a televised address, declaring that the United States would now oversee Venezuela's transition. He cited the country's vast oil reserves as a matter of strategic interest, framing the intervention as both an economic and security imperative. The announcement was met with a mix of outrage and support, both at home and abroad. Maduro and his wife were to be extradited to the U.S. on narco-terrorism charges, a move that further inflamed tensions. Images of the couple in custody circulated widely, symbolizing a dramatic shift in Venezuela's political landscape and raising questions about the future of its leadership. This unilateral action, taken without the approval of Congress or the United Nations, triggered a global diplomatic crisis. World leaders scrambled to respond, convening emergency meetings and issuing statements of condemnation or cautious support. Protests erupted in major cities, with demonstrators demanding answers and accountability. The international community reacted with alarm, questioning the legality and precedent of forcibly removing a foreign leader. Analysts and experts debated the implications on live television, while newspapers around the globe ran front-page stories dissecting the operation's motives and potential fallout. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres addressed the world, warning that the operation set a dangerous precedent for international relations. He called for restraint and dialogue, urging nations to respect the principles of sovereignty and international law, even in times of crisis. The world is now watching Venezuela, where the future remains uncertain under a U.S.-appointed administration. Streets once bustling with daily life are now patrolled by foreign troops, and citizens gather in public spaces, anxiously following every new development on their phones and televisions. Many see the intervention as a violation of Venezuela's sovereignty, sparking fierce debate and passionate protests. The U.S., meanwhile, insists its actions are justified as part of a broader fight against corruption and terrorism, promising to restore order and stability to the region. The crisis has polarized global opinion, forcing nations to reconsider their positions on intervention and international law. Some countries have voiced support for the U.S., while others have condemned the move, warning of long-term consequences for global stability and the balance of power. As uncertainty hangs in the air, the world holds its breath, awaiting the next move in a crisis that could reshape the future of international relations and the fate of Venezuela itself. The crisis unfolding in Venezuela is being watched with intense interest across Southeast Asia, where the political and diplomatic ripples are felt far beyond Latin America. In this region, the principles of sovereignty and non-interference are not just diplomatic buzzwords, they are deeply held values that underpin the entire framework of ASEAN cooperation. ASEAN nations, shaped by long and often painful histories of colonialism and foreign intervention, are especially sensitive to any actions that appear to undermine a country's right to self-determination. The U.S. move in Venezuela has therefore triggered alarm bells among Southeast Asian policymakers. For many, the intervention is seen as a direct threat to the principle that every nation, regardless of size or power, should be able to determine its own destiny without outside interference. Leaders across the region worry that accepting such actions could set a dangerous precedent, making the world more unpredictable and increasing the risk of similar interventions elsewhere, including in their own backyard. Beyond the political implications, there are also immediate human concerns. Many Southeast Asian countries have citizens living and working in Venezuela, from business professionals to students and families, prompting urgent efforts to ensure their safety and well-being. In response, foreign ministries across the region have activated emergency protocols, closely monitoring the situation and preparing for possible evacuations or consular assistance if the crisis escalates. For ASEAN, upholding international law and the principles enshrined in the UN Charter is seen as essential to maintaining regional peace, stability, and security. These norms are the foundation of their collective approach to global affairs. Their collective response is a strong call for restraint, dialogue, and a return to a rules-based international order, one where disputes are settled peacefully and the sovereignty of all nations is respected. Malaysia has been among the most vocal critics of the U.S. intervention in Venezuela. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim condemned the action as a violation of international law and demanded the immediate release of Maduro and his wife. Malaysia's stance is rooted in the belief that political disputes should not be settled by force or abduction. The Foreign Ministry reiterated Malaysia's opposition to foreign intervention and its commitment to the UN Charter. The government sees this as a test of the global order. If powerful nations act unilaterally, international law is at risk. Malaysia also moved quickly to ensure the safety of its citizens in Venezuela, activating emergency protocols at its embassy. This dual approach, public condemnation and practical action, demonstrates Malaysia's principled response. Indonesia and Singapore also voiced strong concerns over the U.S. action in Venezuela. Indonesia's foreign ministry warned that such interventions threaten global stability and stressed the right of nations to self-determination. The government called for dialogue and de-escalation, reflecting its own history and commitment to the non-aligned movement. Singapore, acutely aware of its vulnerability, reaffirmed its commitment to the UN Charter and opposed foreign military intervention. Both countries urged restraint and a peaceful resolution, emphasizing the importance of international law for small and large nations alike. Embassies in the region work to ensure the safety of their citizens in Venezuela. For Indonesia and Singapore, defending these principles is essential for their own security. Thailand responded to the Venezuela crisis with a call for peace and respect for international law. The Thai Foreign Ministry urged all parties to resolve the conflict peacefully and prioritize civilian safety. Thailand emphasized that any solution must reflect the will of the Venezuelan people, not be imposed from outside. The Thai embassy in Lima monitored the situation and stood ready to assist Thai citizens. The Philippines echoed these concerns, focusing on the safety of its nationals and urging restraint from all sides. The Philippine embassy in Bogotá issued travel advisories and maintained communication with Filipinos in Venezuela. Both countries balanced calls for peace with practical steps to protect their citizens. Their responses highlight the region's commitment to both principle and people. Vietnam, shaped by its own struggle for independence, responded to the Venezuela crisis with a strong emphasis on international law. The government called for respect for the UN Charter, sovereignty, and non-interference. Vietnam's stance is informed by its history. Every nation has the right to determine its own path without foreign intervention. The U.S. action in Venezuela is viewed with apprehension. As it challenges norms Vietnam relies on for its own security. The Vietnamese embassy in Caracas established emergency channels to support its citizens and issued travel advisories. Vietnam's response combines principled diplomacy with practical measures to protect its people. It reflects a deep belief in a world governed by law. Across Southeast Asia, the immediate priority after the Venezuela news was citizen safety. Embassies activated emergency protocols, using all available channels to contact and advise their nationals. Safety advisories urged citizens to stay indoors, avoid unrest, and stock up on essentials. Embassies set up 24-hour hotlines and prepared contingency plans, including possible evacuations. The Thai embassy in Peru and the Philippine embassy in Colombia were on high alert to assist their citizens. This focus on citizen welfare humanizes foreign policy, showing governments' commitment to their people abroad. Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, the Philippines, and Vietnam all demonstrated this shared value. Their swift action underscores a regional commitment. Wherever their people are, their government is ready to help. At the heart of Southeast Asia's response to global challenges are the deeply held principles of sovereignty and non-intervention. These ideas are not just abstract concepts. They are the foundation upon which the region's stability and cooperation have been built for decades. For ASEAN, sovereignty means that each state has the right and responsibility to control its own internal affairs, free from outside interference or coercion. This respect for national boundaries and self-determination is seen as essential for maintaining peace and mutual respect among neighbors. Non-intervention is a cornerstone of the ASEAN Charter, enshrined to ensure that no member state imposes its will on another. This principle has enabled peace and dialogue among a region marked by incredible diversity in culture, politics, and history. When the United States took action in Venezuela, many in Southeast Asia saw it as a violation of these core principles. Such interventions are viewed as threats not only to the sovereignty of the targeted nation, but also to the broader framework of global security and trust. Southeast Asian leaders argue that upholding these rules is the best defense against chaos, unpredictability, and the dangers of great power rivalry. They believe that only by respecting sovereignty and non-intervention can smaller nations avoid being caught in the crossfire of larger powers. A rules-based order, where every country's independence is respected, allows nations to focus on economic growth, social development, and building a better future for their people, rather than living in constant fear of foreign intervention or external pressure. Recent statements from Malaysia, Singapore, and other ASEAN members reflect a deep and enduring belief in this system. Their leaders consistently emphasize the importance of these principles in international forums and diplomatic communications. The concern is that the situation in Venezuela could signal a dangerous shift toward a world where power, rather than law or consensus, determines outcomes, a world where might makes right and smaller nations are left vulnerable. For Southeast Asia, defending sovereignty and non-intervention is not just about politics. It's about preserving the system that has allowed the region to thrive, maintain peace, and offer hope for future generations. In the face of crisis, Southeast Asia has spoken with a unified, principled voice. From Kuala Lumpur to Hanoi, the message is clear: peace, respect for law, and protection for the Venezuelan people. ASEAN's response is both diplomatic and practical, condemning unlawful force and ensuring citizens' safety. Leaders like Malaysia's Prime Minister have articulated strong opposition to violations of sovereignty. Diplomatic missions have worked tirelessly to protect their people. This balanced approach showcases ASEAN's mature foreign policy. The crisis is a reminder of peace's fragility, but Southeast Asia's response offers hope for a rules-based world. Their stand is a call for dialogue, diplomacy, and a future where every nation can determine its own destiny in peace.